Hey, I just wanted to interrupt this intro to apologize profusely for everyone who has been waiting for their podcast to be published. This is the day that many will be coming out per week until I get caught back up. I've still been having the live podcasts, but I have not been editing or putting them out. I don't know what happened. I don't really have an excuse, so I am just deeply apologizing to everybody, including Demi, who I already published. Thankfully, my friend Chris is helping me edit again, and he's saving the day. So, Craig, I am so sorry this has taken so long. You are amazing, and I can't wait for people to hear what your story is. And for everybody who comes after, I just want to apologize. Just so you guys know, anybody who's listening who hasn't completely given up on me, you can always come live. It's every Wednesday. I just appreciate your grace and your patience with me, and I appreciate your support so much. I can't tell you, and I'm just, there's lots of shame, but I don't really know why I have done this, but I just wanted to apologize to all these awesome people that you're about to hear. I'm going to hopefully publish 3 a week until I get caught up. So I hope you're ready for an incredible deluge of design recharge. Hey everybody, welcome to episode, let me look, 358. This is Design Recharge. I'm your host, Diane Gibbs, and I'm so excited. Today's my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. I know you won't ever listen to this.
Happy birthday.
But she usually comes. So today is Craig Heyworth. I'm super excited because Craig and I met through Melinda's group. That's how I know Jamie too. But Craig and we met. He is an entrepreneur, absolutely. He's self-taught, but he's an actor. That's what he learned. And then we have some amazingness. And I think it goes back to him being able to see the full picture, hear the whole story, tell. And he's very... he drinks the Story brand Kool-Aid like I do, right?
Yeah, you can say that.
Anyway, so I'm excited. He's lots of ideas, serial entrepreneur. I feel like that's like saying you're a serial killer, but you're in England, so it really doesn't matter. Right?
No, if you spell it with a C, it's more like you eat a lot of cereal. That's the way I like to think of it.
All right, so we're gonna get in because today one of the things Craig knows how to do. Oh, and big announcement: Craig is going to be one of our teachers at camp. He's the first person I asked, and he said yes, and so I'm super excited. So we're going to be talking about scaling businesses in different ways people are scaling, and Craig is doing this in a unique way. So we're going to get right into it. But Craig, you have an amazing path that's brought you here to design, but also to running a creative business. And can you just give everybody a little bit of your background and tell them what you studied in, even though I just already gave it away that you studied acting?
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everybody. So, I'm Craig, and I'm self-taught. So I came into the design community because I moved to Los Angeles because I trained from age 14 to 25 as an actor, and I went to Los Angeles to continue my acting career. And I landed there, and I had a couple of gigs, and as they concluded, I was obviously left with a 3-year visa, and I'm in Los Angeles, and I had no income, and I had to try and find work, and obviously work as an actor is extremely difficult. And so not being able to necessarily go get a job at Starbucks or at a bar or anything else, because obviously I'm in the States on an O1 working visa, I needed to find ways online that I could earn money through English companies and, people abroad and work, across different countries. So I decided that I thought it'd be a great idea to build websites for actors, because I thought I know a lot of actors and they all need a website, but they also don't have any money, what I soon found out. So I was trying to build these websites, trying to sell them $300 a piece. Nobody would buy them. Nobody had the money. I was like, what am I going to do? And then fortunately, one of the people that I asked had a roommate who was built his own furniture in his garage. And he said, oh, I'll have a website off you. And I built it on one of these, like essentially the Squarespace type things back in the day. I think it was called Moon Fruit, something crazy. It's essentially like the MySpace of Squarespace. Well, there you go. And I built it on that, and I sold it to him. And then my company formed, and it was Yeti. And so I just basically Googled everything. I didn't know how to do it, and I just, how do you build a website? And then I learned that, and then how do I design a logo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I just, through referrals, got more and more work. It really was a case of, and I'm sure some people in the group have found this and watching this, is that when you really put yourself out there to say, oh, this is what I do, and I can deliver this for a set price, is that people then do come to you. Now, it's not the case of if you launch it, people will come. But ultimately, through referrals, what happened is that, oh, I know somebody else who's looking for X, Y, and Z. And then it just grew from there. But what ended up happening is I ended up getting bigger and bigger contracts. And because I don't know if this was a scarcity mindset that developed this, but because I was in LA and because I had no other avenue of work. This is, there wasn't a plethora of jobs. I wasn't able to just jump to, look in online and get the next job. I was very aware this is my only source of revenue, and I would go home. Like the stakes were really high. The other motivator that I had as well is that 8 months before I moved to Los Angeles, I'd fallen in love with my then girlfriend, now wife. And I was adamant that I would get her out there as well and get enough money that I could bring her over and we could get a visa together and everything else. So I basically I never auditioned properly when I got to LA, and I just put my head down and I just worked and worked and worked like 16-hour days. I remember I had a desk in the corner that was part of the rented room that I got, and I would get up in the morning, work, eat, go work, and then go back to sleep. And I was just basically in this bedroom for like 8 months, just working, building this company. And then 14 months later, so 14 months long distance with my wife now, I managed to get her out. So managed to get enough money and bring her out. And she quit her job, rented out a house and all of that, and flew over. So that was a big moment. And what I always found is that I love acting and that side of my life, and I still go to acting classes and things like that. And I've been in your film recently, but with Yeti, there was always a more immediate return of investment. It's still very creative, which obviously acting and the arts are, but it was also, I put in 1 hour, 2 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours, and I saw a return, not necessarily even monetary, but I saw like, oh, there's a website that I just built, and it's an immediate return of investment. And that was really something that pushed me, because with acting, you can audition and audition and audition and audition, and it's just rejection after rejection, not even necessarily because of skill set. You can work on your skills and your performance level, but you walk in there and you're just too tall, too short, too ugly, too fat, too thin. It could be, you could just be you're taller than the other person that they've cast, and that's going to be a problem on set or whatever. And it's completely out of your control. Whereas in our industry, the harder you work, the better your work is, the market will speak, and you will float to the top, as it were. And I certainly found that seemed to be the case with Yeti.
Okay, so now I have even more questions that weren't on the sheet. But
okay.
So Emma's here, Rafi's here, Hannah's here, a bunch of people, some people you know too. So anyway, okay, so how did you get the name Yeti? Because Doc was like, is that picture behind you? Does that say? So
oh yeah, yeah. Does that say Yeti to you? Or is it backwards? It
says Yeti to us. It's just backwards for you.
Okay, it's backwards for me, right? Okay. Well, that's good. So I don't have to look at myself in the weird way that you see me. Okay, that's really good. Okay, so yes, Yeti. I came up with Yeti, believe it or not, because there was a whole array of companies being set up back then. So I set up Yeti in 2011, and they were all like weird animal names, like Male Chimp, and there was so many of those companies coming into the startup world that I was like, what crazy weird sort of animal hasn't been used yet, and we came up with Yeti. And originally it was Big Yeti Media, and then through an opportunity with the domain name, I managed to get Yeti Inc., and that's when I sort of rebranded slightly and went just down to Yeti. So, yep.
Okay. Okay. It's not because you're cold and furry and big and extinct.
No, it's not. It's not any of those. Yes, scary and eats random. Exactly. No.
Okay. So in this, so the return on investment. So as being an actor, I'm just asking from an actor standpoint. So what drives you to be an actor? Like, what's the result for you? Like, why do you do it?
Well, I think if I'm being completely transparent and completely honest, I was young when I decided I wanted to be an actor. I was sort of 14, 15, 16. And, you stand up on stage and you get the applause. And, I was quite ill as a child. I had an illness called ME. It's like a post-viral fatigue syndrome. And so I was from like 10 to 22. And I had to move schools. I wasn't in high school for very long and things like this. And then when I discovered drama and it was more vocational and it wasn't, etc., I just really dived in. So then I went to college and studied it. Then I went to, then I had a couple of years in rep, doing rep theater and things. And then I went to drama school.
Rep theater?
Repertory is like you go from one theater to the next to the next to the next, doing different shows and things like this. It's really quick, fast-paced sort of shows. And I did a lot of Shakespeare and stuff like that in rep. And then I went to drama school, and where you do like a BA honors degree, but it's more like 12 hours a day or 10 hours a day, very little written work. It's all, all learning the craft. And then I came out of there at 24 and then worked a little bit, I would say. I've got a few friends, most of my peers didn't do much, but there's a few friends that have done a lot more than me. But I worked in like TV and film and then theater and musicals and opera and stuff like that. So
was any of it, because I think about when you do a movie, it is fun to do it, but there's no audience. So then it's about how, I would think as you develop, as you get older, you would hope that they would be able to put themselves in your shoes, and you would have an emotional connection to the audience, like your character. At least that's how movies are for me. Like, I totally become whoever that person is. Like, maybe this sounds like I'm doing drugs or something, but I'm not. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think.
I understand, and that's kind of what it ended up becoming, actually, because I had to search deep for a real reason a reason that I could, like, in the second year of the first year of drama school, they break you down, is what, at least the drama school that I went to, they really pull any ego away from you, and they make you question everything. And I did have what I could almost call like a rebirth, where I was burnt down to just a small ember, I think, as I've described it before. And I then had to rebuild myself up, because I realized that everything I'd done up to that point, I'd done through the opinions of other people. I kind of woke up one day and I'd never made a decision for myself. Like everything from the television that I bought, to the clothes that I wore, to the way that I walked, everything was through, like, how will it be perceived, and how can I change to be perceived in a better light. And it was just, I got completely broken down through drama school, because their belief, obviously, is that if you're truly going to be able to portray another person, another character, then you've got to be completely malleable, completely empathetic, understand other people's points of views. And that kind of introduced me to psychology and things like this, which I really enjoy. And so that's where the second motivator of continuing the acting career came from, because then it was all about delivering truth on the screen and giving words voice, so that's what I enjoyed about it.
Okay, so then this makes me even connect. So you said, when you described what you had to do, you had to be completely empathetic. It had to be about somebody else. It wasn't about Craig and what he wanted. It was about the character. Well, that's exactly what we have to do as designers. If you're doing a website for somebody, you have to get in their shoes. So again, this is another benefit of your acting, I think, right?
It's funny, because you said this before, and you have a way of of connecting dots that other people I assume, certainly I never see, and it makes complete sense. But I've never considered it that way before. But you're probably right. There's an element here that's of these two skill sets to tie in to the idea of me creating Yeti and growing a team, and then with the skill set of an actor and the empathy. And because you're right, as you were saying it, I'm nodding and thinking that's exactly the way I am with my team. And that's why they've stayed with me for years. And that's, despite getting better offers elsewhere and double pay and everything else, they stay with me. And I think there's got to be a crossover there, which you're connecting, and maybe your listeners and viewers will, but I'm sat here going, So,
but it's also, you took on challenges. So think about, like, with acting, you might've had like the Shakespeare stuff, and then you go and you're on a movie, or you're in a commercial, or you're doing something, it's leveled up. Well, same thing you did with these websites you were building for these, you got bigger opportunities. How come sometimes we get stuck? I think it's because we think that maybe we've hit our cap. And I think as an actor, you're like, I can do more. I could do better. Or you didn't have that same. I actually think that there's something for us to learn, and maybe we all need to take an acting class, because we need to be we need to get in the, Amy Cuddy talks about in her TED Talk, which I can share a link later, or maybe Doc can find it, or somebody else can put it in the chat. But she doesn't say fake it till you make it. She says fake it till you become it. And I actually think this is like a great thing of what I love to learn from Craig about. So you have something to teach us. Do you want to jump into your deck? Because we didn't even do a practice on the screen share. I'm so sorry. Like, I just got so excited. But I just think there's so many connections about you being an actor, and it's that you're going to figure it out instead of, I think
there's a whole array of points you hit on there, which is one, that's this idea that we believe we have a cap, and the funny thing is, I may or may not believe I have a cap, but the irony is I'm bringing in other people with that skill set, so it's like it's completely beside the point of whether I or not have or believe I have a cap of some kind, because essentially I'm selling services and products to the clients using the world's skill set, and as long as I create an ecosystem and an infrastructure where I can facilitate drawing in great talent and keeping them and managing them and etc., then in theory it doesn't matter what's asked of me, I can supply it, because there's always going to be someone out there for the right price who will do it.
But here's another one of Craig's superpowers that he totally overlooks, is that it's about his ability to communicate and motivate these people. He can communicate, figure out enough. He can be the actor and see what he needs to do to be able to talk the lingo for an animator to get it done. And I think that that's like getting into character. We all need to be able to get into character a little bit better, I think. Right?
Yeah, it is. There's definitely a point in my process where I have to understand the job that I'm asking other people to do, to the point, one, because it just protects you. It protects you against, which I'll discuss in this deck as well, but it'll protect you against being taken advantage of, obviously. But it also means that you'll be able to find the people that you're looking for, because you know what's required of them, and etc. So you definitely have to know enough. It doesn't mean you have to be able to do it, but you have to know enough about what you're providing.
But you also, one of the things that I think Craig can do that I can't do, that I want to learn from Craig how to do, well, one is build a team like this. I can't wait, but he'll talk about more at camp. Hopefully you guys will come. The other thing is that he can communicate his needs. I've realized this as I'm trying to do what Craig's doing, like hire contractors. I'm still in that, well, I know when I'll see it. Oh my gosh, don't we all hate that? Oh, I do not want to be that client. So, but you're able to communicate what you need, but you also believe in them and you give them creative freedom, which I know you're going to talk about in this because we've talked about this, right?
Yeah. I can touch upon that, definitely. Okay,
jump into it, buddy.
Right, let's do it. So I'll share my screen, shall I? Okay, great. So yeah, basically what this deck is about. Now we've touched upon quite a lot of different points here, but this deck I'm just going to solely focus on the whys and the hows of developing and building a team to around the services that you're providing. So what I would say as well is don't necessarily worry about taking notes or anything like that. I've got a link there, the Build Your Team link in the corner. You can just head there and you can download this deck. So don't worry about that. So yeah, you can have access to this deck. So let's just go through it. Okay, so yeah, most freelancers have trouble growing their business beyond themselves. I certainly felt that, and I know that I hear this all the time. Especially you're delivering a service, whether it be a graphic design service, whatever it is, and you get clients, and then you've got to manage those clients and obviously deliver those services to them. So what ends up happening is that you end up quoting for that, and you end up finding yourself in a really difficult position, not being able to grow outside of yourself. So it becomes a freelancer business as opposed to a company of people delivering a service. Because you're managing everything from the client work to the sales, the onboarding, etc., the marketing, SEO, SMM, etc., the actual service you're delivering, the operations of the company, finance, invoicing, cash flow, proposals, you name it, it's there. And I've got a mini list of all the stuff that you essentially have to contend with. So if you're in that boat, then I understand it. I was definitely there, and this is one way you can get out of that boat if you're looking to. Okay, so and the irony is not only is this problematic, your work life, as it were, with all the stuff you have to contend with when you're trying to grow your company, but then also the actual factions of life. The physical aspect, so in terms of you exercising, etc., intellectual, growing intellectually, emotionally, your marital, your parental obligations, your social obligations with your friends and family, your avocational, and your financial. It's just, you've got your time split all those different ways. So it's with all of this going on and all of this going on, it's extremely weight loading. So
wait, what's avocational?
The opposite of vocational.
What?
The opposite of vocational. So, like your work-life balance, essentially.
Sorry.
No, sorry. So occupancy by more than one person is dangerous and unlawful. I thought that was an interesting thing. So, growing outside of just one person, I found extremely scary at first. And the irony is you should be more scared of. I should have been more scared of being solo, and that's the irony behind it being scary. The roadblocks that I hear, and I also told myself many times, is that it takes me as much time to tell someone what to do as it does to actually do it. There's an array of reasons for that, which I could do a whole deck on individually, but I won't. Another one is that it's just never as good as me. Again, there's a whole deck there. It takes me so much time to manage them. It costs me money that I don't have. I can't find good talent. I can't vet good talent. I can't keep them. I can't train them. So there's so many roadblocks, and these are the core. I'm sure there's a few more. These are the core roadblocks that you've been presented with when you think, oh, I might hire someone to do this, or I might just. Oh, it would be amazing if I had another person to help me with X, Y, and Z. And so I'm going to try and create a meditation over how you can avoid these roadblocks. Okay, so let's go into the why. So why would you even decide when there's all these roadblocks? Why even bother, right? Okay, and because money doesn't cut it. Okay, so when I was originally thinking, well, why? What's the purpose of growing, right? What is the real purpose? You have to have a real, like a real purpose that motivates you to want to grow outside of just yourself, and it can't be money, because although money does come and it sometimes doesn't, you can make your company less profitable and etc. by growing it with a team, etc. So it shouldn't be about the money, though money can come from that, because obviously as you grow a team, you're delivering a larger amount of work. So so obviously we all know that money doesn't even need to be said, but we all know that money is not a source of happiness, so you shouldn't be chasing it. You're all aware of that. I don't need to talk about that. Okay, so why? We don't listen to ourselves. You're a bad boss and you're a worse employee. Right? So I'll often find that, and you must know this, if you're a tyrant to yourself and you tell yourself to do something, such as go through the obstacles and the roadblocks of growing a team, you just won't listen to yourself. And this is the exercise thing all again. Is that you say, "Oh, tomorrow I'm going to exercise" or something, and you don't listen, and you never do, and it's like you're a bad boss and you're a worse employee. So that's what this image is about. I particularly like that part of the image. That's the best bit right there. That's a really good bit.
I like that his belt is undone. It's like he forgot to even get dressed.
Yeah, it's just hanging in there. That's just hanging in there. And then another thing that happens is as well when you kind of even thinking about tackling these roadblocks is you go, oh, but why? But everything's going swimmingly. Everything's actually okay. And you kind of tell yourself, no, it's fine. I've got my clients, they're doing well. Like, I've got work. I feel gratitude for that. I should be happy that this is okay. I shouldn't be pushing the boat out, etc. All the analogies. So let's, you'd be crazy to grow a team, right? I love that image. That's so weird. Yeah, you'd be crazy to grow a team, and you're right. You would be crazy to grow a team. But let me have a meditation on why this mess of growing a team would be worthwhile. Okay, I'm going to sort of try and present it to you. So, well, first of all, nearly everything you appreciate was created by more than one person. There's very few things that you interact with in life that is created by only one person. Well, I'm thinking the love of another person and a piece of artwork, maybe. I don't know. I'm sure there's more.
Even another person was created by two people.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you should help me with the deck. There you go. Yeah, exactly. And I put the road in there because I got a funny story. I was sat right here, and where I am in my home office, I'm in like a bay window upstairs here. So there's like windows behind you. And the road was shoddy where I live. It was like potholes and everything else. And they were relaying it. And I'm sat here working, and they came in and they tore the road up virtually in a day, just like ripped it to shreds, and with this massive, obviously, piece of equipment. And then relayed like all the foundation and everything else, and then relayed the road in like 10 days. And it got to the end of the 10 days. Am I allowed to swear? No, I shouldn't swear, should I?
Yeah, we keep it PG. Ass and bitch are okay.
Okay. All right. Bitch is okay? Wow. Okay.
My mom thinks that one's okay.
Okay. Well, yeah. And I watched this happen right here. And I got to the end of the 10 days. And I was like, they've just they just laid a road right in front of you. What have you done, bitch? Right? Right? Is what I thought to myself, And it's funny with that's like an immediate example with lots of people with the same goal, with the right equipment. You can do so much in so little time, and it was just another wake up call.
It goes back to acting too. Who wants to watch somebody, just one person, forever for 2 hours? Nobody.
Well, the acting thing, yeah. You've seen the list of people at the end of a movie. It's just person after person after person after person. It's just there's so many people involved, and so yeah. Well, this goes into this actually because another side of this is I'm going to present to you that it's a moral responsibility for you to be all that you can be. Okay. Now, not to get too deep here, but I believe in fighting being comfortable, and that it's your duty for being human. And I'll delve into that a little bit more without getting too preachy. So the idea of being all you can be and how that ties into growing a team is because I've always found that whenever I've chased happiness, it's always eluded me. And because, and whenever I've prioritized happiness, almost, it's always eluded me because I never really know at any point what is going to make me truly happy. And something that made me happy previously doesn't necessarily make me happy again, or so it can often be elusive and fleeting almost. And so what I found that gives me a stronger sense of like stability and feels like more solid ground is if I aim for meaning. And whenever I aim for meaning, it stays where I think it should stay, and then I stand on it with it, and it gives me happiness. And it can even be through unhappy times, when something bad happens, as long as you can find meaning through it, it becomes less of a tragedy. And so tying in meaning as opposed to happiness to a team is the fact that if you build your team, you can deliver more to more clients. And what ends up happening is that your work becomes more meaningful because of the amount that you're delivering. So I say strive for meaning, not happiness, and take on as much as responsibility as you can. I think because responsibility is the way into meaning. I've found through my life that I've never found anything really truly meaningful unless it's a massive responsibility. And anybody knows that if they have kids, or if they've truly committed to a loved one, or looked after an ill parent, whatever it is, that it's the amount of responsibility almost directly for me is correlated to meaning. So take on as much responsibility as you can. It's not burdensome. It's not something to be avoided. And I found that the more responsibility I've taken on in personal life and also work life, the more meaning I've found in it. So I'd encourage it, and that's how it ties into growing a team, because you're able to take on much more responsibility. And another reason for that as well is because it's not just you're affecting. Because you're affecting all of your team, but then also your family and everything. So, and it's even more prevalent nowadays because you're in the middle of a network. You're in the middle of literally a social network. So everything you do and say matters, and it spreads, and it can. And we all know all we need to do is hear about somebody's story, and it lights a fire under you, or it just shows you something can be done, and there's so it's not just you're affecting if you don't really truly push yourself. So I would encourage that. And then the final thought is, well, what better thing do you have to do? That's the question, isn't it? What else could you focus on that is better than that? Please email me if you find something, because I would love to know it. Okay, so say you're even contemplating the idea of taking the leap.
Just so you know, I thought that stuff was amazing. The responsibility is the road to meaning. That's powerful.
Oh, good. Great. Well, thank you.
Anyway, keep going. Okay,
great. So, okay, well, yeah, so some of the benefits that you could possibly expect, certainly some of the benefits that I have found, is that and I've touched upon this slightly, is that you get a larger impact with your clients' businesses. As I've grown Yeti, and Yeti is like a 6-figure agency, and we work with web applications now, and that's kind of how I started in, as you know, just developing websites to sort of like builders and click and drag type things. And then as it grew, and obviously the clients required more and more complex applications, I then brought more and more people in to be able to deliver those. And what happened is then the amount of impact that I was having on the business was massive to them, and then they started writing me into their business. So I now own, I own and I'm part owner of several businesses, and some of which are client businesses. And so you end up having a massive impact, because and this isn't in the deck, I'm just going to side note here. People, there's a lot of talk about niching and generalizing and stuff like this, and I'm a big fan of niching down for lead generation. But I'm a bigger fan of niching publicly and generalizing privately. And I'm stealing that from somebody else. But because when a client has come to me and I've developed their website, for example, and they go, "Oh, it'd be amazing if we had like an animated video," especially like 5 years ago when they were all the rage, and they go, "Do you do them?" And I go, "Yeah, we do them." And they go, "Oh, amazing! Let me just send you a script and then we can talk." And I was like, "Yep, great." And then I go off the phone and I Google how to do an animated video, and it was literally that like I knew nothing about making an animated video and videos, and then I would Google it. And then because I knew that I'd be able to hire somebody who was an expert in that field, who would be able to deliver great animated videos, and all I needed to do is connect that and bring them in so I could deliver the project through my also view of what the client needed, etc. So it wasn't me necessarily pulling the wool over the client's eyes and saying, "Oh, me personally can do it." No, it's not we can do it, but me personally, I can definitely do it, and then just failing miserably. It was me saying, "No, we can do it as Yeti, we can do it," and I would bring somebody in to be able to do it. So and then through my lens and my understanding of the client's needs and requirements, I was able to then put my what would you call it, like quality filter on top of it. And then that was presented, and so the client then was always happy. So that's larger impact on your clients' businesses. Another benefit is that you can be able to run several tasks, projects, businesses all at the same time. Now I do that, so I run Yeti. It's like brand strategy and experience design, and then I also run Filmed, which is a startup for the film industry, ironically. And we're building a web application at the moment, and it's going to be launched in January next year. So that's the startup I'm running there. I'm also CTO of one of my clients' businesses, Pet Insurer, with a sister company, Petted, and that's like a price comparison website for pet insurance. We have monthly retainers with PGA. So I'm in lots of different businesses and helping in lots of different ways. And I'm only able to do that because I've got people who are part of Yeti, and we all work together. The other thing as well is like sense of community, like you're building something of value together. Like there's a massive, especially right now with coronavirus and everything, it's so lonely, right? You must feel that, right? You sat there on your own, building your own thing, and the only way you're really communicating with people is online, and it's tough. It's really tough. Whereas by building a community, by building a company of people that are all working together, you have that camaraderie, you have that sort of, you show up to work each day with the same people, and it's just, it's worth its weight in gold. That alone is worth it. Pressure is off, right? So you must feel this, like the pressure, the pressure of doing all the things that a business requires of you, let alone the deliverables for the actual client, is just massive. And it's immediately removed when you spread out and you bring more and more people in, because and everybody has their own avenue and their own skill set. So you have more time, more money, ideally, if you frame it right, because obviously each person's work you're getting a profit from, which ultimately ends up in more freedom for you and your family. Stability in your business, because you're spreading your chips, as you were. You've not got all your eggs in one basket. Let's chuck in all the analogies. Let's go. Your stability of your business. If one, if that animated video fell through, it's not going to crumble my business, because it's the only contract that I've got. And so then just responsibility is meaning. So as which we talked about. Okay, so I'm going to give you I think there's 5 or 6 points I've got here that kind of run through how you might even begin to go ahead and do this. Get the work, right? Okay, yeah, just go get it. No, what I mean by that is because it is different. It's different to the work you're getting now, and because this is how we're going to tackle the idea, the roadblock that people bring up of, oh, but I end up, it takes me just as long to tell somebody how to do it as it does for me doing it, or they're never as good as me. All of those sort of roadblocks is how we're going to tackle this here. Because what people will do, generally speaking, is say they're a logo designer. They're niching down and they're delivering logo designs. And they get another client in, and they always charge X amount for their logos, or a minimum of X amount. And this client is no different. They come in and they get the quote, and it's like X amount. And then, the business owner will say, or the freelancer will say, oh, I'm going to get somebody else to do this because I want to grow my company. And then they'll struggle to find somebody who will do it for any amount that will really create a profit. They're then they don't understand your quality of work. This new freelancer won't understand your quality of work, won't understand the client relationship you have with them, especially if they're an ongoing client, won't understand your workflow and your process and how you like delivering things and etc. What your personal preferences are with the trends of logo design at the moment. And so they're immediately at a loss. They're immediately they're going to lose. You've almost set them up to fail, despite how good that freelancer is. So we're going to avoid that. So what you want to do is you want to quote for something that you can't deliver. That's what I used to do. Like the animated video, quote for something that you personally cannot deliver. You have to find somebody else to be able to deliver it for you. That's one way to, it's not the only way, but it's one way to immediately remove like 30% of all the roadblocks, because you won't be able to deliver it. Okay, or come up with a connected service. So if you are selling logo design, then work with somebody to create the collateral, or something like that. It's connected. If you're doing SEO services, move into the implementation of that, or consulting for that, etc. Then Google how to do it, which I've spoken about. Because but call your previous and existing clients as well. Call them and just say, I'm launching this new service. I'm just wondering if you needed it. And because they've worked with you before, you'll be able to bring them in, and then you've got this new service. So that's what I would say, is that you want to get the type of work that is something you personally cannot deliver. That isn't because it's the best way or it's the only way of growing a team, but it certainly removes 30-40% of these roadblocks where you're going to go, oh, this is not as good as me, or etc. Okay, so number 2 is to and then find the people that can do it. So Google the skill set that they need. So if it is like the animated video thing, I didn't even know what type of software you would do animation in. That's how little I knew. And so you need to know that. But so researching, there's obviously tons of jobs. So researching as if you were an animator looking for work, and you're looking over these job positions and you're finding out, oh, this job here is stating it needs to be done in this software and that software, or this coding language needs to be used, etc. for this type of job. So you're starting to learn all the lingo, you're starting to learn the terminology and the skill sets required. And you want to pull these job positions together, and you want to share them with the people that you know through these type of communities, because that's another way that you can bring people in. But I've always found that I've had the best return, both monetary but also of skill, via working with people through online platforms, job platforms, and there's loads of them out there. But Upwork is the main one that I use personally, and it has a great sort of screenshot system where you're able to see the other person work, and that gets you out of a lot of troubles. Again, I could do a whole deck on just how you sort of bring people on through Upwork and the complications of that, and also how to avoid the pitfalls. But that's where you want to head if you are thinking about bringing on other people on through a job platform. I would say try Upwork, post it on your website, post a job link in online communities. Because this is how you also want to do is we'll go into vet them. All right, so we'll vet them. So when you are vetting these people, right, there's a few things that you can really do to minimize your risk. And because essentially this is risky, right? You're quoting for a job that you don't know how to deliver. And we'll go into quoting in a moment. Because in theory, this is the type of work that you want to do prior to even quoting, okay? So you're going to ask these people who apply to your job role, once you created it and you put it on Upwork or wherever, is you want to ask them for a cover letter. One, if you are working with people abroad, which I do predominantly, is that you're just testing their English, you're testing their communication skills, etc. You want to ask them to answer several written questions and make them about the job. So obviously things like, what software would you use to create this? And have you done another job very similar to this? Can you link me to it, etc.? Because then it requires them to write down their answers uniquely for that job role. And again, it's a form of vetting. It's a form of you just understand, because you'll find an array of skill when it comes down to just being able to put an application together for these jobs.
This is gold. This is gold.
Is it? Great. Good.
Yes.
Okay. And then, and of course, ask them to record a video. Now, you'll find that 90% of people don't. And that's another you can still hire people who don't record Loom videos, but those that do are really confident with sort of jumping on video and jumping, and their English is obviously they're very confident with their English. So this is another way to get over any complications when you're hiring abroad, etc. But also Loom video, if you're not hiring abroad, if you're in Britain, you're hiring an American or Australian or Canadian, etc., or vice versa, is that getting people to do a Loom video can show you a lot about their personality. Can also just show you where they are and sort of what equipment that they have, etc. So it's really important. But always jump on a video call with them. Do not hire unless you've jumped on a video call with them. Again, for all the reasons, it's about vetting them. So they're just some of the things that, again, will get you away from some of these roadblocks. So this is probably one of the more interesting parts of this, is that how do you create a safety net? Because I would imagine a lot of the questions that people are having right now are things like, but what if the freelancer screws me? Or, what if there's just no profit, or etc. So this is how I've found that I've been able to avoid those pitfalls. And even when the you can say crap, right? The crap has hit the fan, right? You still have plenty of resources to correct it. And this is how I've done it. So when you get these people sort of applying, right? So I'll go from here. When you get these people applying, set it by project, not by hour. I hire hourly now, but if you do it by project, then it immediately caps. You know that if you say, oh, okay, the budget is $1,500 for X, Y, and Z to be done, then one, you're upfront with your budget. People can then apply and know the cost, and they're agreeing to that amount. If by this point, which from my advice, you wouldn't know how much to charge, right? Then you ask them in one of your questions. You say, how much would it cost for this, right? And without putting any budget. And they all come back, and you can get an average figure. And say the average figure is $2,000 for this animated video, right? That people are coming back. And then you know that you want to quote the client at least 3 times more than that cost. So if you charge, so you've got to charge at least $6,000. And that's another great thing. It's because people will be like, 3 times more than it costs? Like they could go and hire a freelancer themselves and do it. Yeah, that's great. But they're not, they're hiring your quality lens. They're hiring your sort of professional infrastructure and everything else that you're developing. And they've got a working relationship, especially if it's a previous client, like I recommended, and selling an extended service, is that they are familiar with your work, and that's worth the money. Because as you know, even tackling this, trying to find somebody can be difficult. So, and I've even almost worked as a recruitment agency for some of my clients because of like, I need someone who specializes in Salesforce. And I'm like, that's not something we can do, but I can, set you up with some people. And then I've done that, and for like on a commission basis. So anyway, so is that you want to, definitely get them to quote for the projects, and you capped in at a max amount it will cost. So if you then charge the client 3 times more, you could pay the client, you could pay the freelancer the full $2,000. He could deliver, or she could deliver nothing to you, right? And you've got an opportunity to do the exact same again before you're even into your last $2,000 of profit, or what you would pay yourself, for example. And that's another thing, is you want to quote the client 3 times longer than it takes. So you ask them, how long is it going to take? The freelancer says it's 2 weeks. You think, well, that's probably more like 3 weeks for them, right? Because everybody always thinks they can do it quicker than they actually can, right? So you think, okay, it's like 2 to 3 weeks. I'm going to quote at least 6 weeks to the client. And I've found that actually, through my experience, a lot of clients that I've worked with are perfectly happy not setting a specific deadline. The only ones that really require a specific deadline are ones they've gone, oh, we've got a whole marketing angle here that's campaign that's going to be launching on the 1st, and we need that animated video for it, for example, if it's to do with the animated video. And so there's the odd client there, but then you can always, it justifies a markup. It justifies everything else. So you can, because they've got a set deadline that you have to deliver by. So when you're working with these freelancers for the first time, I would encourage to not commit to a job that has that type of deadline. And they're far and few between. I found they're far and few between. So don't commit to that. Find these type of clients that are like, oh, it'd be great if we can get it done in this amount of time. And you're like, well, it's been around 6 to 8 weeks, but I'll keep you updated. And obviously you'll see a version before then. So, I'll let you know. Keep it really open-ended, but always quote 3 times longer. Again, just because everything can fail. You can fire a new freelancer, bring them in and get another 2 weeks out of them. 50% upfront from the client, obviously. You're probably all doing that already. And then pay your freelancer in escrow. So you're not even paid your freelancer, and you would only pay 50% at most upfront to the freelancer in escrow. So they know you're good for it. They can begin. And you can see like a first draft of their work before you're even releasing any money. That's protected me numerous times. Okay, so that's your safety net. Spec the work. So when it comes down to the work that you spec for, both from the client end, but also for the freelancers, you got to get really, really crystal clear deliverables, clear expectations, clear deadlines. Do your research. So, I don't know how to expand on any of those really, but they've just got to be really crystal clear, especially if you're working with people who are English is their second language, etc. Because the literal meaning can skewer a lot of things. So be very, very clear on what you are looking for. And then the management of this. So this is what you kind of touched upon, and we'll talk about this after this because this is the last slide, basically. With regards to how do you keep a team and keep them motivated and keep them working for you and not moving to other jobs, etc. But yeah, so obviously log everything on your task manager, so you've got a record of everything that was done and when it was done, etc. Communication app of choice, whether it be Slack, etc. Show up for work every day, right? So like every morning I'm like, good morning team, how's everyone going? Show up, because it's you'll be surprised how that routine is worth a lot. And ask about more than just work. Like I ask about their kids, and I know when their birthdays are, and it's all of that sort of stuff that really matters, because then when something happens, which like life gets in the way, which it ultimately does, it always does for everybody, and they go, oh my goodness, my wife's just been, something's happened to my wife, or been fired from work or whatever, and can I take today off? I'm like, of course, like go. One, because I've built in enough buffer and all the angles for that to be fine. But then also they're comfortable with discussing that with me because I know they've got family and everything else. So, and then that's an immediate, like it immediately shows where my real values are. It's not about the work. It's not about the hidden deliverables. I'll sort out the client. I'll let them know if something's going to be delayed, etc. The team has got to be the focus. Like the team has got to be your main priority, not the client. Almost, it's got to be that. It's got to be down to the solidarity of the team, because you'll find clients that want to work with that solidarity, solid team. Congratulate them on their efforts. You'll be surprised how many people just don't congratulate people, don't say thank you, don't give. You must notice when you present something to a client, all it takes is them to go, oh my God, this is amazing. And you go, ha, 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 ha. It's amazing. It's amazing. Like it's, and it just lights you up, and then you're dancing for the rest of the day. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. And it's not a case of being insincere. It's about finding the opportunities where you can genuinely congratulate them. And I do it all the time with my team. It's like, even things, because now like we'll have a deadline, and, I'll say, is there any chance you can work later? And they're like, yeah, of course, I love working late. And because so funny. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, listen, I just wanted to say, I really appreciate you working this late. It's, and they're like, no, honestly, it's no problem. I'm like, so good work today. And then, and you just know, I just know the feeling. I know what it feels like on the other end when you have quote unquote a boss, somebody who's managing you to really thank you for your efforts on a day-to-day basis. And that's got to be a massive reason why people have not lost a team member. Give precise feedback and quickly. Never let people sit on work. Always give precise feedback. Obviously, sandwich bad feedback. With good feedback, etc. The journey there, and then give bonuses and wage increases. So that's another. Like, I've had people that have worked for me for years, and I know that ultimately that money is worth less every year, so ultimately they've got to be paid more every year. And ultimately, by doing that, by increasing my wages to my team, it only forces me to increase my prices with my clients. And that only, makes me just follow the trends of the industry, as opposed to end up stuck with the same client for 5 years on the same wage you charged them, 5 years ago. So, yep, there you go. Right. So, and then there's a nice egotistical picture of me in my modeling days.
I love it. It's a great picture.
Oh, lovely. So I hope this helped. Keep in touch. Download this deck there at yetiinc.com/build your team. And you can follow me and follow my company if you wish. And not that I'm massive on social at all, but yeah, feel free. And if you want to email me about anything, any questions about this at all, just email me on this email here.
Awesome. Okay. So that was incredible.
Meets David Bowie. I've been called David Bowie a lot, actually. I've had women like run across the street when I wear my leather jacket, and they grab me by the face and be like, "Look, it looks like David Bowie, David Bowie." I was just like, "Oh, great, okay." So yeah, I've had that a lot.
Okay, so I just want something.
Sorry, a lot. I kind of just chucked it all out there.
You did. Okay. It was great, and we have 3 minutes left. So,
do we? Oh no. Okay.
Oh, you did so good. It was tough. It's really like we need a part 2.
Okay.
For sure. But we're gonna have you at camp, and I think we need to dig into this for sure. Look, Doc's like, you crushed it. A lot of people in the chat. So thinking about. So I kind of want to 2 things before I let you go. One is the whole Upwork thing. Okay, so. There, some people would be like, oh, well, that's kind of like you're taking advantage of people, but it really can be advantageous for both you as the employer and for them, because you're going to pay them. Hopefully they're charging what they think it is worth, and not.
If there is anybody thinking, oh, there's like, I don't know where that necessarily comes from, the idea that you could be taking advantage of somebody. I suppose the only way is if you think on a literal basis that what you're paying them, you wouldn't pay somebody in your country or something. But it's surprising when you Google how much the average person earns in that country. I pay great wages for, in comparison to that. And so, some of my folks are on 20 yards an hour. I could find people in the UK who would be willing to work for that, in the same line of work. And so, it doesn't mean you underpay them. You charge your clients correctly, and then it's only a problem if you charge your clients as if it's just you doing the work, and therefore you usually underprice yourself. We all know that, imposter syndrome and everything else. So you'll underprice yourself. You'll charge the clients what you think you're worth, and then try to find somebody else to do it. Won't be able to find anybody, and then have to pay $4 an hour for them. And there may be a potential chance that you are taking advantage in that. But even then, for people for $4 an hour, you'll be able to find countries where that transfer rate works for them. So you're going to get a much better skill set if you have more budget. But yeah, that's on us to make sure that we charge our clients correctly.
So the other thing is that you have created a team. So then they're willing to, just like any team, they're very thankful because you are providing multiple opportunities for them, not just one opportunity every 6 months. Because again, you have a neat way of doing it. I had never even thought about saying, hey, I have this new skill set to my clients, my existing clients, and saying, would this be interesting to you? Because now you're actually getting work for that person. You're also making them understand that you value what they do. You value how you worked with them, and you're going to try to find them more work also, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because with coronavirus, there was a situation where clients were paying me less because of coronavirus, etc. And it could, I'm in a protected state where, in theory, I could just not have my team work, right? Because I've no contractual obligation from an employee standpoint, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But of course, I know that the entire infrastructure that I've built falls apart unless I keep them. So I reduced my wage. I kept them, used the money that was in the company, and I kept them working at full capacity. And that's what sometimes you have to do to keep that. Do you know what I mean? That team together. And now what's ended up happening is that I've ended up like there's a job I'm in like tender for at the moment, which is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars per annum, and I can only deliver that because I have the team to be able to deliver it. I'm only even, and do you know what I mean, on the table because I have the team to be able to deliver that. And if I lost all my team during COVID, then I'm back to $4,000 per project type gigs. And that's the other thing, is that when you just got to prioritize the team. You got to prioritize the team because it means that you can deliver so much more value to your clients. Yeah.
There's a book Simon Sinek wrote called Leaders Eat Last. And that is the epitome. What you're explaining is that you sacrificed to make sure that they had food on their table and that they were still getting paid. Right. And that's what you have to do. And it wasn't easy. This hasn't been easy, but you had enough. You don't just spend everything you make every month. You are putting things away. You're saving. You're being good with your money. But you're also, I love that you are celebrating. Just like back on stage when you were really 14, you liked the applause at the end, right? And now you know that if somebody else is being the actor, somebody else is doing the development, or somebody else, just how much that meant to you to be appreciated. You also are giving them the applause, right? You're saying, oh my goodness, this was great. And I just love that you're encouraging to them, but I also love that this becomes a family, and you're friends. They're not just contractors. I believe if we all would just make more friends every week, then we would be better off. And it's not about transactional, like I give you this, you give me this. You're giving more because you want more for them, and you want more for you because you like to have extra responsibility because you're in it for meaning. I just love it. This was super good.
Great. Good. Well, I hope it was of value. And if you want to download that deck, obviously you can do so. Feel free. And any questions? Definitely. Oh, definitely fire them my way. I'll be.
So Melinda said so valuable. She's already downloaded it. Doc says it allows working, doing things, giving things, having other people on his team has allowed him to take care of them as well as, and I think it's really joyful to be able to know that you're part of somebody's success. I know that my friend Dustin, he'll say, when somebody comes up to him and says, oh my gosh, I bought your brushes, he like whips out his phone. He's like, look, you paid for my kid's bike. And I think that's such a,
that's so funny.
He just makes it so that and I think you're like that too. Like you're part of their success and they're part of your success. I just think it's a really beautiful story. And I think you're super smart. You. All right. I want to make sure everybody knows how to get in touch with you. And I mean, at some point, this is a very meaty thing. We are just touching on it. We're going to touch on it a little bit more at camp. But is this maybe something you're going to create a course for? Or are you just trying to see if there's interest in there and if people really want to understand how to do this?
Yeah, I thought about the possibility of creating a course. Well, I want to provide value because if anybody asked me, this is what I kind of came to the realization of recently, is if anybody asked me, oh, how did you kind of create a company and end up sort of working with these type of clients, etc. I was always saying, oh, I just Googled it. Right? That's what I'm going to go to. I just Googled it. Everything's there. You just need to learn it. That's it. Somebody else has already put in the effort and explained how to do it. And then it hit me is that I've never, ever pretty much given back into the ecosystem. I've only ever taken. So I've only ever learned, and then I've never really provided any value back into it. I've certainly given recommendations. I've obviously helped my clients, but I've never given back into the ecosystem. So I've no immediate desire to like earn a fast buck on creating a course necessarily. I've got a lot of work on with the clients, and that's where my focus is. But I do want to take this as an opportunity to you sort of asking me to be on the podcast today, to give as much value as I can. So if there is anybody that is like, oh, I really desperately need to grow a team, or I do believe that that's my way to solve X, Y, and Z, then reach out to me. I'll help in any way I can. We can jump on a call as well. But also, if there are enough people that do want me to get the whole process down in some sort of video course, then I'll carve out time. I'll try and work out how much that ends up costing me, and then I'll split it across how many I think it will cost, and then just to kind of cover my time. But ultimately, I just want to any way that I can serve and give back.
Well, sign me up. I'm number one.
Great.
I really want to know how to do this. Because I think it is those your can'ts, I can't. There's a whole section just on communication that I've realized I'm like, oh man, I got to work on this. Like it's very painful to me, and I think I just need to harness my inner Craig and get it so that I can do this, right? But I'm really thankful that you think it's easy. But I think there's a lot of support in that. I
never really delved into the communication much on the deck and stuff. Obviously, there's only so much I can deliver. But reach out, and definitely I'll any way that I can help.
All right. So the best way to, I guess, if they go to Yeti Inc. So it's 2 eyes, people. If you're
That's right. Yeah, it's got a sneaky eye in there. So it's yetiinc.com, and then you can go /build your team. The link's just there actually in the in the chat. So just go there. You can download, and it's got on that page actually. It's got my when you download the guide or whatever, it tells you my Instagram and stuff like that, but also my email address, which is CK Heyworth or Craig@yetiinc.com.
Okay. All right, so those things will be underneath if you guys want to get in touch with him, or if you're listening on iTunes, Craig, CRAIG @yetiinc.com. It's really easy. Right. Okay. I'm just excited. Thank you so much. Your deck was awesome, by the way, just so you know, and I just appreciate it. And I'm excited that he'll be first at camp. I mean, not maybe the first person, but he was the first person that said yes. So I'm very excited about that. I really didn't get any of the questions because some of them were covered in your deck. So I'll have to when's camp? I think next year, Melinda. Thanks for asking. I think it was a little too close to the end of, it was too close to school for me. And then I had some people die, and it was just too much to try to fit into 2 weeks. So I know it sounds terrible, but my granny's with Jesus, so we're good. It'll be, I think, June 15th through July 15th. It'll still be a 5-week period. So, but anyway, adjusting a little bit. Don't worry, we're going to have a little campfire chat reunion sometime, probably at the end of October. So don't worry, it's coming. I'm just still catching up. But thanks for asking, Melinda. Okay. Next week is a rapid recharge. I'm going to teach a little bit of something that I'm going to do a workshop with my friend Costas in December that hopefully you guys are interested. It's kind of like a mini camp. So Craig, thank you so much for coming back. And we have another hurricane. So I'm so thankful the hurricane's coming on Friday and not today, because that would have been terrible. It would have been what's up, right?
Somebody doesn't like me.
I know. Yeah. No. So I hope you guys will, I got blurry. I hope you guys will tune in next week. And I know if you're listening on iTunes, you probably are just getting, or wherever you get your podcast, you're just getting inundated with all these Design Recharge episodes because I've been overwhelmed and I haven't gotten up. So I will thank you for everybody who comes live. It is getting done. I am getting a new system, a system in place with other people. So I am trying to do my best to scale as well. So it's just growing pains, right? It's just growing pains.
Yes.
Craig, thank you so much. I'm going to hit stop.